an alcohol problem. He was detoxed in a maternity ward. They stuck him in a maternity ward and hid him there so nobody'd know where he was and what was going on. We've come a long way since then, but alcoholism still bears a huge red letter, if you will, of shame and some other changes that I've seen. I got into recovery in 1971. I did not go to treatment. There was no treatment. In 1971 and prior to that, clinicians, psychiatrists, etc., hated alcoholics. We would clog their office with our unresolvable approach to life. By that I mean they tried to treat alcoholics and addicts the way they treated others with compulsive behaviors. So if you have a compulsive behavior, you deal with the underlying issue and the compulsive behavior disappears, okay? That doesn't happen with alcoholics because we deal with our underlying issues and then go out and celebrate and get loaded because that's what was where we were in our lives. In the clinical world of psychology and psychiatry, it was unimaginable that people would come in and lie and spend hundreds of dollars doing that to the psychiatrist and clinician, but that's what we did as alcoholics. Okay? And we were anathema. And the battle between psychiatry and psychology and recovering alcoholism is resolved in many ways, but there's still a huge tension that's going on there. The fact that we introduced the spirituality into the recovery of alcoholism also boggled the minds of psychiatrists and psychologists. That's changed dramatically in the last 20 years especially. That's changed because the impact of how we treat alcoholics and addicts and what works and what doesn't has been very effective in changing our understanding. The research, though, is pretty slim. The research that substantiates this. One of the biggest changes that has taken place in research recently has been the neurobiological researching that's done that is able to look at the brain and be able to identify what addiction and alcoholism really is about, and demonstrably so on slides, and what an alcoholic brain looks like before and after other drugs as well. Much of that research is reinforcing and giving the scientific basis to things that we had gleaned in doing our own recovery and doing treatment and so on. So a lot of the research that is currently going on is also giving force and credence to approaches that are both in the field of treatment as well as in the recovery programs of AA, etc. The progress of how to treat alcoholism, which I know this foundation is not currently going to be focusing on, and I understand and agree that the whole need to focus on prediction and prevention is a really good move. Treatment and recovery, however, can help to give us a sense of what is going to work with prediction and what is not. So even with prediction and prevention, how to prevent someone from being in denial is a pretty neat trick. Denial is an incredibly important part of the alcoholic's ability to do destructive behavior to themselves and the people around them. How does one approach denial in a way that they can not reinforce the denial, that's going to help the person, the culture, the community to change. And I'm going to suggest that research is very much going to point towards, when doing prevention, etc., cultural changes are going to have to take place. Understanding really what is this alcoholism about. The drug alcohol is such an integral part of our culture. It's thousands of years in our culture. It's not going to go away. We can't make it illegal. That was tried in Prohibition. That exacerbated the whole issue. It is clear that as dangerous a drug as alcohol is, were it to come on to the scene for the first time today, it would be made illegal immediately. No doubt about it. Okay? I mean, it's that dangerous. The most dangerous detox there is from alcohol. And we as a culture have been laughing at hangovers via Dean Martin and so on for decades. And yet, we are dealing with an exceedingly dangerous drug. What its relationship is to addiction and other addictions, I think, is one of the biggest issues that that research can begin to look at. Many people. Let me back up a second and tell you where I'm coming from when I'm going to say this. I do 4-day intensive workshops with relapsing alcoholics. That is to say, these are people who've been in multiple treatments, and as Peg has indicated, very small percentages of people ever get to treatment. But these people are supposedly in the best of treatments, and they're still relapsing. Okay? I take 12 people for 4 days and work with them intensely. The focal point is relationships. Okay? I indicate to them and firmly believe that relapse is 100% relational. That is, people who have gotten sober and recover, if they relapse, do so over relationship issues. Okay? And the people who can't stay sober are the ones, they are not in a place where they are effectively dealing with relationships in a way that they can get on with their lives. Now, what emanates from that understanding, from where I'm standing, is that an awful lot of what alcoholism is about is so integrally linked with the way we live our lives. These people cannot stay sober unless they learn how to be able to care and be cared for, to get beyond their shame. Huge portion of addiction has to do with shame. These people are not going to stay sober unless they learn how to set limits and stop setting themselves up to be more than they think and more than they can be, and setting themselves up to live out lives in which they have unreasonable expectations of their own or the people around them. All of these things to me are indicators that if we are dealing with alcoholism and we're dealing with trying to figure out what it is and how to treat it, that we're going to really have to take a look at what we are as human beings, how we're living our lives, and what factors go into bringing about this alcoholism. We know other diseases are impacted by how we live our lives. Hypertension, cancer, any number of other things that the way we see ourselves, the way we think we can be in our lives, dictates what we're going to get sick with.